How's it going, everyone? Andy here from 4K Downtime, back at you with another video. And today we're talking about Capcom, a company that I have such a mixed kind of love-hate relationship with them. On one hand, they've been really great. I mean, if we look at last year, starting off with pretty much Monster Hunter World, or even going all the way back with Resident Evil 7, it was a sign that Capcom was starting to get better. They were listening to fan feedbacks and a lot of things that they do that I genuinely do love. I praise them when it comes to their games. As of recently, it has been hit after hit. Again, going back to Resi 7. Resi 7 was a great return to kind of the classic RE. Then, despite that, I'm not necessarily into it, but Monster Hunter World was huge, sold really well, and it was reviewed very well, so that was also good. Followed by things like Mega Man 11, which is a game I personally love. Despite I had a rant on it regarding the physical editions and everything like that, I had another video of it, I'll have a link to it at the end. And then all the other games that came afterwards, the release of Okami's HD collection on Switch, as well as Onimusha and everything like that. In regards to Resident Evil 2, the remake, recently I've tried it out, thought it was great and everything like that, and I'm pretty sure Devil May Cry 5 is going to be a pretty solid game as well. Again, I like the demo, but then there's the other side of Capcom, which is not the developer side. This is more kind of like them as a publisher, the way how they just deals with releasing games on the Switch. It seems like they just don't get the Switch audience at all, or maybe they're trolling the Switch audience, who knows. But today I want to talk about the part I hate about Capcom is basically the way how they've been pricing some of their games on the Switch. And you all probably know where I'm going with this, but it's the Resident Evil, well, not trilogy, just the HD remasters of the first two games on GameCube, being Zero and Remake, as well as the remaster of RE4 as well, which is a game I absolutely love. Now, what's the issue here? So, I'm sure a lot of people who's watching right now probably know is that Capcom has recently released the prices for all of these RE games. Now, they first announced it last year. When they first announced it last year, I was like, you know what, I'm on board with this. It's I love these games, not so much as Zero, but I love the remake of the original RE, and Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time, top 5 hands down. So when I heard, wow, I could actually take these games on the Switch, now on the go, anywhere, I could play it anywhere, that is really appealing to me, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm totally on board with it, can't wait to release it. Now, they already announced the release date, it's coming out in May, and they've also announced the prices as well, and this is basically where a lot of people are kind of already turning up their noses, of not wanting to get it anymore. What's really I just really want to say even kind of disgusted by it is basically the price that Capcom is asking for it. Now, just a quick little rundown. So in the States, they're going to be getting a physical edition for the Origins collection, which Zero is going to be on the cart, while Remake is actually one that you're going to have to download. So despite paying the price for the physical edition, keep in mind you don't even own both of them on the same card. You simply own one and then you download the other one. Resi 4, to my knowledge at the moment, yeah, Capcom haven't said anything about it at the moment, but from what we understand, there is no physical edition. You heard that right, one of the best games ever made does not have a physical edition. Instead, it could be argued that Zero is probably the weakest out of the three, and yet that one has a physical copy. So, but that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it is that in the States, that physical edition costs $60. So you're essentially paying full price for it, and while the Origin collection, when you get it on the PS4 or on the Xbox One, which is also physical, it costs $40. So they're essentially charging you $20 more. Resi 4 is going to be $30, where it was actually $20 if you buy it again on the competing platforms. So again, $10 more. And over here in the UK, for us, we don't get anything. We literally don't get any physical editions whatsoever. All we get is digital. Now, this is something that, again, with my Mega Man 11 video, I've already ranted about it, and I don't necessarily want to dive in deeper into it because I just kind of I'm done with it. I've already accepted the fact that this is how Capcom is going to go in from now on. For us over here in the EU, you're probably just going to get digital unless it's a new release. So I've accepted that, and that's perfectly fine. And even when they announced last year, I wasn't expecting for physical. I was being hopeful, but I was already kind of accepting that it will most likely be digital only. But that's not my problem here. My problem here is that they're basically trying to charge all 3 games for 30 quid a pop. So if I want all of them, I need to pay 90, which if I were to buy them, let's say all on the PS4 or on the Xbox One or whatsoever, I will only be paying less than half of that price if I want to get like, all 3 of these games on another competing platform. Now, this is my biggest issue with Capcom, the way how they're pricing like, these RE games, is like, again, going back into what I've said about Okami and Onimusha, those games, when they first launched it, they were only like $15.99 on the eShop. Again, no physical edition, you only get like, download them digitally. And I remember when it was first announced in the Nintendo Direct, when I heard about Okami HD, is it going to be like, 20 or 30 pounds or something like that? That was originally my fault, at the very least, when I first heard it. But as soon as when I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, $15.99? That's actually a bargain. Like, that was my initial thought. Like, I actually know a lot of friends that went out to buy it just because they felt like, oh my god, this is actually really cheap. And it's the HD remaster as well, so why not? And ever since then, yeah, I felt like Capcom's games has been more or less like, the price was fair. I wouldn't go so far to say that they were cheap, but at the very least they were fair with their pricing, whether it's the Mega Man collection, the X collection, all of that was okay. The only 2 games that they have ever released that I thought were a little overpriced for what they actually are yet is Ultra Street Fighter 2, as well as the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection, the one that included like 12 Street Fighter games in one. The Switch version was about almost 10 quid more, like, than all the others. But with that, I could at least understand, again, it's with the Switch tax regarding with the cartridges and everything like that, like, so they charge more. Like, I don't know how much is that true, but whatever, if that's the case, then maybe it is. But with this one, they're all digital over here at the UK at the very least, like, so if they're all digital, why does this one cost £10 more than if I was to buy it on the other platforms? Again, with the Origin collection as well, it's about 20 quid more over here. And the way how I'm kind of seeing it right now, it's like, I felt like maybe I was naive to ever believe yet that they were going to sell these $15.99 each, because I think with Okami, especially with Okami as well, yeah, I can't help but to feel like, and this is just a theory on my part, I can't help but to feel if they could have, they probably would have charged 30 quid for Okami if they could have got away with it, but they know they couldn't because it's not a very successful IP. I mean, it was critical acclaim, don't get me wrong, the game's great, but it doesn't really have much of a fan base, like, so if they were to sell it at that price, instantly nobody will buy it at all. Like, nobody will be even interested, and they just be sitting there waiting for the price to keep going on sale, like, sale until, like, it reached to a price that they think, oh, okay, cool, it's good to buy it now. But with Resident Evil, because of how big of a fan base there is, yes, so, and the most compelling thing about the Switch, of course, we all know, is the portable aspect. It's like you could take all of these games on the go and play it wherever you want, and that, maybe to, like, some of the Resident Evil fans, like myself included, is very interested. Like, I'm really interested. Like, I could just, like, boot up RE4 anywhere I go without any sort of restrictions whatsoever. And Capcom seems to understand that this is the appealing thing, and people will be willing to pay money just to do that. And they're trying to pull it with Resident Evil, like, just to see whether or not, like, if people would actually pay that kind of money just, like, to play RE on the go. All in all, though, I'm just kind of, like, really disappointed in the choice that Capcom made, because when I heard it last year, I literally thought, like, this was going to be such a great celebration, like, especially for Nintendo fans, because keep in mind, these 3 games, they started off at a Nintendo console. They were first released on the GameCube. GameCube is what gave birth to these 3 games. So to see that these 3 games are actually now returning back to a Nintendo console after so many years, it was supposed to be a celebration. At least I kind of, like, viewed it that way. But Capcom, for what you're doing here, yeah, it's like you've kind of basically diminished my excitement for it, and now I'm just going, instead of buying it day one, I'm probably just going to let it wait out in the eShop and just wait until, like, it drops down to, again, $19.99. I'll be more than happy to pay for it. Like, if it's 20 quid, I don't mind, or if it gets lower than that, then absolutely, I'll just, like, pay with no problem. But 30 is way too much, especially for some of, like, these other the other RE games, like Remake. Like, it's an amazing game, but there's really not much content for that game. like, you know, to warrant 30 anyway, especially like, I mean, back then, of course, it was brand new, so we could accept that. But today, because it's been released on so many platforms, and you could get it cheaper on so many other platforms as well. So if you haven't played that and you're interested, there are so many other platforms that you can find these games that are all much cheaper there. Or if you really want it on the Switch, I'll highly recommend just like, you know, wait in until the price drop down. Again, I'm not mad, Capcom. I'm disappointed, and I've said it time and time again on this channel. That's, for me, that's actually worse, because you guys were doing so good, but you just have to go ahead and pull something like this. And this is why I'm still not 100% on board with Capcom as of right now. This is just purely like, you know, because every single time I love you for something, I always have to hate you for something. So let's just see how, like, you know, everything turns out going forward. Who knows, maybe, like, you know, they will change the prices just slightly before they release. I highly doubt that, but that's kind of like, you know, just my 2 cents on it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Andy signing off. Have a good one.